Hello, social media friends. My local friends here in the Chicago area, friends of my other friends, and friends of my family members. For those of you who may be watching this content, once we go live and share this in a bigger way. For many of you who know me, you know that my business revolves around what I call the 5 Ds of real estate. Let me share with you the first three because the first three really matters more right now. The first one is diamonds. The second is diapers. The third, unfortunately, this happens, divorce. So for that reason, guys, I am so excited today. Why? Because one of my family members, my oldest niece, has been gracious enough to share her time with me to talk about that second D, diapers. So, as I prepare her to join me in this virtual conversation, let's make sure she's available. So, 1 second. Ah, let's welcome her into the room, everyone. Hello, Dr. Annie Apple. How are you?
Hello, I'm doing well. Thank you for having me. That was very cute.
It's so true. You live the life of a young physician in a niche that is, I would say, 24/7, right? You're always on demand, right?
Yeah,
Um, and I would say, you are in a profession where um, you've worked hard, you work long, tireless hours to care for others, and specifically, as I understand from your mother, you have chosen to be a gynecologist, correct?
yep, that's right.
All
Yes,
right.
in my
Uh,
residency right now which is both obstetrics and gynecology, but yeah, hoping to do fellowship in gynecology only. So yeah,
yeah.
that's where I'm at right now.
All right. All right. So for all of you women out there, there's a lot of you, girlfriends, spouses, sisters, mothers, etc., etc. Welcome. Let's give a nice warm round of applause for Dr. Annie Apple as part of our live conversation today. So Annie, I've got to start off asking this first question. I know, as you were growing up, after you finished college, you had this big decision to make, and that was obviously, where do you go for your medical school training? How did you come upon your decision to decide on Vanderbilt Medical School in Nashville, Tennessee?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. At that time, I had graduated from Duke, and then I was working at Duke for like a community program at the time, and so I took a gap year, so to speak, and was like really applying, throughout mostly the East Coast for medical school. And so part of it comes down to like where you get interviews and where you get offers, but I did want to be on the East Coast because I wanted to have some social support, be close to family, and our family is mostly on the East Coast at that time. So that was a big component. And
Right.
then Vanderbilt specifically, because, our family was from Tennessee back in the day and like had moved around a lot growing up, but still had my dad's side of the family in Nashville. So that was a big plus. And then, of course, like factors related to the program. So they have like a big community feel, but it is a big academic medical center, exposure to all the different specialties. And I think also at that time, living in Durham, I wanted to go to like a bigger city with kind of like more going on in my early 20s. And so Nashville was like the perfect place. And Vanderbilt just happened to, check all the boxes that I was looking for.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's so important when you're making that move to go start your new life in a city. It certainly helps when you have, the support of either friends, close friends, family members. So, yeah. So when I heard from your mother that, yes, I'm going, Annie's going to Vanderbilt. I'm like, oh yeah, close enough to your in-laws. That's
Yeah.
helpful, right?
Yeah, exactly.
For when you decide you're tired of fast food, right? Someone can at least welcome you to their home for like a home cooked meal.
Yes, yes, definitely a lot of home cooked meals and like holidays. It was really easy because I didn't know what my schedule was going to be like, but like, being able to just, go to my aunt's for Easter or whatever the case may be, like was a nice added perk when like it can be stressful, obviously, during medical school. So that was
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
Yeah. For those of you who are listening in to my conversation with Dr. Annie Apple, and if you happen to be from Tennessee, go Volunteers. If you happen to be from the Nashville metro area, that's a pretty large swath of area. Hey, welcome. Thank you for joining us. By all means, as you're watching this, feel free to drop your social comments. Maybe saying to Dr. Annie Ample, hey, I know you through 6 degrees of separation because maybe, just maybe Dr. Annie Apple delivered a baby that you know. Or maybe you share some friends in common that can be just as important as well. So, Annie, when you lived in Nashville, downtown Nashville, how important was it for you to live as close to the medical school, the medical center? I'm assuming it probably was not only important, but also useful because when I was in Nashville, by the way, for your wedding, it was amazing to me as to how much traffic there was.
Yeah.
So was it helpful for you to live in downtown Nashville?
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely a priority when I was, considering places to live. I did wanna be I mean, this is, like, pretty specific, but I did wanna be within walking distance of the hospital.
Right.
Again, just not knowing what your schedule is gonna be and knowing that, especially with the clinical rotations in the later years, the hours can be kinda unpredictable. And so I wanted to be able to get to the hospital easily and quickly. And I also knew that, like, from hearing from other students, that that's where most of the students lived, like in the West End neighborhood, which is like right by the Vanderbilt campus. So that's kind of where I targeted my search. And I think it was, yeah, like I loved living in that area. All my friends lived there. A lot of my friends even lived in the same apartment building as I ended up living in. So it was super convenient, a really nice community feel. And yeah, obviously didn't have to deal with traffic because I would just walk every day. So that was
You
nice.
you you got in your steps, and
Yes.
also for those crazy hours that I know and I hear you medical school students and residents have to endure, it just made it a little bit easier, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I think the traffic has changed too over time. Like, I think obviously Nashville has been growing a lot over the last 10 years or so. And so
Right.
even during my time, it got more busy and the traffic was a lot worse. So that just made, being able to walk wherever I was trying to go to either work or restaurants, shopping, like all of that was right in that area. So it was super nice.
Yeah. So, as we as we wrap up our short conversation today, where does your next chapter lead you?
Yes, that is a good question. So I'm in Philadelphia right now, as you know, finishing up my residency in the next year or so. So, and then after that, I'll be applying for fellowship. So again, like on the job search essentially, and trying to, stay open minded to any program across the United States. So stay tuned, and we will let you know.
Might it lead you back to Nashville?
Maybe, yeah. I would
Really?
love to go back. So yeah, I love
Okay.
Nashville.
Okay. All right. So, one last question for the young physicians who are coming up behind you, for the nurses that support you physicians, and also just young professionals in general who may be considering and having to move to Nashville, what would you tell them?
Um, I think I mean, I would definitely highly recommend it. I think it's like an amazing place to live and work. I think it's Very livable city. There's so much green space. The food is amazing. The nightlife is amazing. The music, obviously, amazing. So, yeah, enjoy it and have fun. And I think in terms of real estate, obviously, that's more, your area of expertise. But I do think that it seems like it's a great market for it. And I know friends who have bought houses, the value has only increased over time. And so I think, yeah, I think it's a great investment.
Yeah. Well, for today, once again, Annie, thank you for squeezing me in your weekend, which I know is very precious to you. So until we talk again in the near future, and maybe the next conversation that we have when I bring you back in, you'll share in a big way, where the heck are you gonna go?
Yeah, maybe so. Time will tell.
All right. Thank you for joining me today. Audience members, stay tuned as we learn more about the next chapters of Dr. Annie Apple.